Yeah. Well, it's like when we look at the idea of global transformation, there's an most people, they don't, even though they can kind of perceive that, right, and they kind of get an idea of what we mean when we use those type of terms, but at the personal level, there's an excellent possibility that they don't know what that means at the personal level. How do I do something in my personal life that's going to help add to or contribute or influence something that's going to take place at the global level? So it doesn't have behavior inherent in it, I guess is the word I'm looking for, right? So when we're always using the term global transformation, it doesn't necessarily give us any clues or ideas on what does that mean in my personal life. How do I, quote unquote, help facilitate global transformation? What behavior exactly? So, but the model that we use to look at stuff determines what we see and how we can gain an understanding of how systems behave, right? So if we look at the proper model, it'll give us clues and ideas as to what we can do at different scales of existence, okay? And the two most primary is what we call macro-micro. And macro tends to, it not only refers to scale of things, because at the energetic level, scale isn't that important. It doesn't, in the physical realm, scale is everything, right? It's either small or it's big, you know what I mean? If it's small and it's big, there's like huge difference between these two ideas. But at the energetic level, scale is really beside the point. It's really about vibratory frequency. It's about the quality of the vibration that produces an effect at the energetic level, which is the level of cause, that filters down and produces a physical effect as a result, okay? And so when we think about global transformation, we want to say, okay, what's the symbolic metaphor at a smaller scale for global transformation? And that scale is personal transformation. What a lot of people don't realize about the human body is that we're like a beautiful mystery, because the human body is like a metaphor, or like a symbolic representation of the universe. We're like the smaller scale of the greater scale, right? And that's how the macro-micro came to be, as above, so below, is because of the uniqueness of us, so to speak. In order to understand the universe, we have to look within. The more we can understand ourselves, the greater understanding we have of the universe in general, because we're a mini model of it. We operate by the same principles, and we basically function in the same way that all of nature does at greater and greater scales of existence, okay? So the other thing that many people don't realize is that, like all of life, okay, everything is energy, okay? Energy is vibration. Vibration exists as polarity, okay? A form of duality that exists not only as poles that are opposite and complementary to each other, but at levels of existence that form a kind of hierarchy. Gross energy, the physical realm, operates by a different set of principles, a different set of rules, so to speak, than the subtle realm of pure energy. And a lot of people don't get this. In the physical realm, naturally scale matters, right? Size is everything, because the bigger, the harder, the more impact, or the more, grander it is on a scale of things. But the other thing is that in the physical world, it's, impact produces a pronounced effect, okay? But in the subtle realm, this isn't the case. It's part of the reason why it's called subtle. In the subtle realm, the softer an effect, the greater effect it causes over a longer period of time, okay? And one of the ways we could think about this is to bring it into our personal life and think about the subtle realm more as a mood and the physical realm more as an emotion, okay? Now a mood is softer and more subtle in our lives, and we can have a mood for days, weeks. Some people are in a mood for their whole life, right? But a mood can last a long time, and based on our mood, every thought, every perception, every story we tell ourselves that comes out of our state of mind as our mood is a direct reflection or of the same nature as the mood itself. The mood produces everything else, right? Whereas an emotion, the way we can think of an emotion is emotions are much more pronounced and much more powerful, and they're more instantaneous, right? So something gets triggered in us, whoom, an emotion comes up, it's full, it's big, we have this huge reaction based on the emotion, it expresses quickly, and then it dies almost as fast, if not faster, than it came up. So emotions are like greater impact, but they're quick, and they burn out, okay? So just keep that principle in mind. And then we think of, so when we think of the global and the the individual, this one's huge and this one's teeny tiny, we can say to ourselves, okay, the teeny tiny one has the ability to produce a greater effect in the subtle realm of cause than the big one does, actually, right? And it's not really about size that produces an effect, it's about vibratory quality. The quality of vibration influences the subtle field with a subtlety that expands. It's like a spider web. This is, the unified field is typically represented in indigenous cultures by a spider web. And that's because it's like this interwoven lace of like silky strings that connect to each other, and no matter what part of that spider web you touch, it produces a vibration in all of it, right? Clear across the spider web, there's going to be a vibratory movement because it was touched over here. This is the same type of idea that we have going on at the energetic level. It's like an exquisite network of vibratory frequencies that are just dancing with each other and influencing each other and serving as a dynamic interaction that produces just a series of effects that's kind of like an unfolding, I call it a sizzly quality, right? So if we think about it in that term and we say, okay, global transformation can be equated to personal transformation because it's the same process, same idea, different scale, okay? And we undergo the process of personal transformation as a means of like forming a correspondence, a form of rapport with global transformation as a means of producing effective action to help usher in world transformation or to help produce a pronounced effect at the world level. We undergo personal transformation because all we have to do is hone our body, hold our, our system, so to speak, to the vibratory frequency that represents the level of consciousness, that represents the change itself that we're going for, and that will produce an effect in the subtle field that will actually produce an effect that can be felt, so to speak, worldwide. Okay, so, but here's the other thing that we have to keep in mind, is that frequencies, vibratory frequencies, the way to look at this and to understand it at different scales of existence is to think in terms of analogy and correspondence. So, for example, if we're talking about world transformation and we're talking about world peace, okay, that's the big one, right? And we say to ourselves, but how can I help bring peace to the world, okay? So I say to myself, okay, the way I can help bring world peace is to become the corresponding vibration of peace, right? Because peace is a state of mind. It's a state of mind that produces a certain type of behavior, it's a certain attitude that we walk through life with that either creates peace or creates conflict and war and fighting and quibbling all the time. So I could say to myself, in order for me to produce world peace, I can become the embodiment of peace, the expression of peace in my own personal life. And that means that I'm going to cultivate peace as an attitude, as a value, so to speak. And I'm going to create peace with, within my own personal life, with my family, at my dinner table, with my neighbors, in my community. Anytime I interact with somebody, it's going to be of a peaceful nature. It's not, so I'm going to cultivate being a peacemaker, so to speak, a peaceful person in every aspect of my life, knowing that that's going to become the vibratory frequency of peace itself, which is going to impose a direct yet subtle influence in the energy field that's going to affect it with that vibratory quality, which is a level of consciousness. Okay, when we talk in terms of vibratory frequency, we're talking quality of consciousness. So, and quality of consciousness forms correspondences as symbolic significance that express that whole range of vibration. Vibratory frequency is like a range of expression that's of a certain nature, right? So if I can produce that quality and nature within my own personal life, I achieve that level of consciousness, which means I'm vibrating at that level, which means that I'm influencing the subtle energy field of collective consciousness with that vibratory frequency, which is directly influencing it at the subtle level, which means it's a smaller influence that expands as it moves and has a greater effect over a longer period of time. So that's one of the ways to think about how we can act in our own personal lives to help facilitate or to help bring about global transformation or change at the global level. So it gives us a model that has behavior inherent in it, right? We got to have action. We got to know what to do in order to do it. So that's just one way to look at it that will help you to know how to directly do things in your personal life that's going to represent the same idea at a larger scale. So